progress on the Decauville's, I've been concentrating mostly on the bodies. Now, we have the resin components, the printed components. This is the main body shell, and we have 3 of each of these things. Now, this is the primary body shell. Now, in here, or rather, this will cover the main business end, which will consist of the battery and the receiver will sit in this cavity. The battery, let me get one. This is the battery that goes in. 602563, that's 6mm thick, 25 by 35, and as you can see, that fits in there just. A little bit on the width, but nothing on the length, and a little bit spare on the depth. So that will allow me also to get a thickness of lead in there to help give it a bit of weight. Above that, just in that cavity there, will go the receiver. I don't want it shielded by the lead that's going to go underneath the battery. That's the principle of it. So receiver in there, followed by battery, followed by a slice of lead, and then the lower print, which is the tank bottom and lower boiler, and in that we will have the charging socket will sit on one side of that, and the on-off switch will sit in that slot there, and the leads that go to the on-off switch will go through those 3 holes there, and the gear motor will sit neatly in there, and that holds it in the right place at the right angle, and will have 0.3 mod bevel gears, one on there and one on the rear axle, and that sits like that, if you can imagine it. And the leads for that will obviously go up the smoke box saddle. So that's how all that works. Other prints, of course, will be we have cylinders. There'll be left and right cylinders, obviously, and cylinder end covers, and lots of other small bits and pieces. But of course, many other bits like chassis will be nickel silver. Now, other bits of the body, if you see what I mean, will be the cab floor and the back sheet. Now, this is nickel silver, and this is all silver soldered as opposed to soft soldering. In some respects, soft soldering's easier-ish. Insofar as you can just bodge it on, but as soon as you've got more than one piece, when you're soft soldering and you're trying to solder another piece on next to it, or many more pieces, things start falling apart because it's all getting hot, and the piece you did before falls off because the whole thing's getting hot. silver solder is much more forgiving about that sort of thing. So you can silver solder one piece on, and you can silver solder another piece on, and there's much less risk of the first piece falling off. So I much prefer to silver solder where I can. And of course, now I've silver soldered all that, when I get as far as soldering on the angles that support the roof, which will go up these two back corners, that'll be really easy because I won't have to worry about other things falling off. The silver solder I use comes in a small syringe like that, and I use a teeny smear of that applied with a cocktail stick. And I use these torches, which I get from Amazon, and they're sold for cooking of all things, for glaze or whatever, and they're about £14 each. And let me just ignite it. You can't see you can just see the flame, but these are really, really good, and they fill from a small gas canister, and just like a cigarette lighter they fill up. But these are really, really good, and just the job for this kind of work. So that's the basic chassis, and again, all silver soldered. The fun and games I've still got to look forward to on this is there's a really, really complicated motion bracket to fabricate, and that needs to attach about here. But it's a very complicated thing with lots of components on it, and that's going to cause me deep joy. And of course, I've got one on each side and 3 locos to do, so I'm dreading that, to be absolutely honest. But that's what all that will look like. And when what I've done so far is assembled, it looks like this. Now you'll notice on that cab section the handrails are in place already, and they're silver soldered on as well, and that locates the print section very accurately. Now the resin body will be bonded on to this footplate section, so it'll all become one piece when I'm ready. And the handrails that are silver soldered provide, as I say, a really good strong location for that, and a bit of epoxy will finish that job off. But you see, we've got the buffer beam and the cab back sheet are actually 2 different units, but we've got quite a nice neat joint there, which is very nice. You can see how the 2 are attached. There's a screw at the back there, and there's a nut on the underside of the footplate, which does the part A to part B trick. So that's where we are with these little bundles of joy. They make for very, very small 7mm narrow gauge locos. I'm sure these will have me crying in my beer before too long. But meanwhile, the job's going okay. As I say, the really, really hard bit is going to be the motion, because it's going to be really small. I'm looking to not cheat at all, but I've got 3 sets of motion to do in this. It's Valschutz, and it's really, really small. I have done Valschutz in 7mm narrow gauge before, and I used my little pantograph miller, which was a converted Proxon pantograph etching machine. I used last time. I have, of course, my trusty Stepcraft, which is a wonderful, wonderful machine, and I love it. Cutting 7mm narrow gauge valve gear with that is pushing its limitations. And also, of course, one of the problems with it is that I'm limited by the diameter of the cutter in both these machines. The smallest cutter I have available to me is a 0.8mm diameter cutter. And frankly, that's a little bit big for this. So the route I'm hoping to go down is to use a laser to cut the valve gear in nickel silver. Now, you can get fiber lasers in a desktop variety. I was going to say fairly cheaply. It's all relative. The one I'm looking at costs £1,800. Now, £1,800 is a heck of a lot of money. It's more money than I'd like to throw about. But I'm pretty confident that I will be able to cut nickel silver valve gear in this and do it really accurately. So I'm hoping to get my hands on a desktop fiber laser in order to do this job, and in the future do lots of other jobs. So we'll see. That should be arriving within 4 weeks, I hope, and that'll be a bit of a learning curve to learn how to use that and get a usable product out of the other end. And then, of course, it'll be a matter of putting all that valve gear together and getting it to work as well. But there we are. It may be that I'm still biting off more than I can chew with these little locos, and I might end up with 3 half-built Decauville's dead on a scrapyard somewhere. We'll see. But if you don't try, you don't get anywhere. Fingers crossed.